Hey, I'm Ahmed Ali Akbar, host of the See Something, Say Something podcast, and this is The Sit Down. I'm here with Bassem Youssef, world-renowned political satirist, Egyptian superstar, and host of a new podcast, Remade In America. Welcome, Bassem.
Hi, Ahmed. How are you?
I'm very good.
See how I pronounce my name?
Well,
I said Ahmed.
Ahmed, oh.
Hey, dude, if you want to be Muslim, speak Arabic.
Oh, hey, man.
This is Islam.
Or the pronunciations are just as good.
This
man.
is America. Speak English.
I could do a good Ahmed. If you ask me, I can code switch.
Thank you. At least you didn't say Ahmed.
No.
Because that really bothers me. It's like, hi, Ahmed. No. There's no here. No. It's like they assume if you speak Arabic, everything is. It's like having a lizard in your throat or something.
Well, I have Arab friends. I'll say Ahmed to them, but I'm going to stick with Ahmed for me. That's my parents. That's the way my parents said it.
I'm semi-proud of you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I have principles. Mm-hmm. You've been living in America for a few years after basically,
A couple of years.
Yeah. After essentially like leaving Egypt after some of the controversy around El Barnamig, your program. What has it been like seeing, since you've been here, Donald Trump has been elected. What has it been like seeing Americans' views of Arabs and Middle Easterners change over the years since you've been in America?
I feel like when now they see Donald Trump, it's like, oh, now we understand where you're coming from. It's just, oh, we're very sorry. It's like we understand now. I think Trump has actually made Americans more empathetic and sympathetic about what is happening in the Middle East. It's like when we tell them dictatorship, like, I don't know what you mean. We have democracy.
Right.
It's like, oh, I don't know what we have right now.
Right.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I had friends who would say, like, when Donald Trump was elected, I had Muslim friends who'd be like, we're worried about being put in camps in 2 years. And some of my American friends would say, like, oh, that's never going to happen. And now they're like, there are literally ICE detention centers that are like camps that are popping up.
Yeah, I mean, because the thing is, it doesn't happen suddenly.
Right.
It doesn't happen overnight. It actually, all of the atrocities in modern history has happened because there's due diligence and there was like laws and courts to protect it.
Right.
So it will be legal and it will be constitutional.
Right.
And it will, as long as you have the right votes to do it. Hey, it's democracy. But the difference is, the big difference is, like we joke about like dictatorship here and everything, but the difference is that every 2 years you have the chance to change things.
Right.
You have to change, midterms and elections, and these things matters. And it's not just like waiting for another march or putting pink hats on your head. Yes, it's important to inspire people,
right.
But you should be inspired and go to vote, not just like sit at home and just troll on internet.
Right. Right. And as a comedian, obviously, like a lot of your role is to sort of speak truth to power, and a lot of comedians have been getting in trouble recently, like Samantha Bee and Michelle Wolf were criticized a lot for some of the comments they made.
And Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel and everybody, yeah.
You think there's any line you wouldn't cross for comedy, or do you think it's like comedy's line to go there always?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, yeah, I have my personal lines that I don't cross because it's just me. But in general, I think that all lines should be crossed. Because if we're going to say there's a line, who is going to draw the line? Who's going to decide? And who's going to say you cannot cross that line?
Right.
I mean, it's very fluid. I mean, and can you cross the line on the internet but not live? Well, how can you govern that?
Right.
It's just like it's a very open world right now. You cannot limit people's speech.
Right.
Because if you start to go after people for what they say, whether you're liberal or conservative, because both of them have their own problems with that. Whether it's like too much like PC on both sides, it's just, you can't draw the line.
Right. So, and you're actually, in your new podcast, Remade in America, you talk to a lot of outsiders from all sorts of different perspectives. I mean, you have Jordan Peterson on there, and you also have Maria Hossa, and you have, Maz Jobrani. So, like, to you, what is, like, the importance of talking to outsiders in this moment in American history?
Well, at the beginning, we were debating about what the show would be. And people said, well, let's talk about immigrant experience. And I said, like, I don't want this to be about immigrant experience. I think, as an immigrant, you speak to immigrants because they feel as outsiders. But there are people, Americans, who've lived here, who were born here,
right,
who feel like outsiders. I think everybody is an outsider in their own way. Whether because you're an outsider because of your views, your orientation, the way you're brought up, what's your views on the world in general. So I said, like, I want this to be a show about an outsider experience. You know, and because I believe that you being successful, you have to have a strong outsider experience because you had to fight against the narrative that surrounded you, opposed you, or even like been obstacles against your progress. So that's why I speak to people's I explore people's lives and experiences, and I want to know how did they deal with it. You know, you could be an immigrant like Maz Jobrani, who came here at 6 years old, and he came with his family at the beginning of the Iran Revolution and the hostage crisis. Or you could be a white American who was born in the middle of America, who grew up and felt that he doesn't belong. You could be like Jordan Peterson, who, in his own sense, kind of like being fought. I mean, I don't agree with many of his views, but you know, he has an experience that was against the mainstream liberal circles in academia, and I want to know how does it feel like. And I want to, even if their views are different than mine, I need to understand where do they come from. I think it's important.
I think there's a lot of conversation about whether or not like we can bridge the gap, and specifically around immigration, and a lot of it's a very nice pillow that we have.
Yeah,
here.
just like it took a dive.
The brand.
Yes.
So there's a lot of conversation around like how to engage over a lot of these divided issues, like immigration. What are your thoughts on the current rhetoric around immigration and immigration policy in the U.S. right now?
Well,
because you're an immigrant yourself recently.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I mean, I think it's immigrants or certain groups of people throughout history have been targeted so people can direct their rage and their hate and their anger towards them. There are a lot of problems, and the only way that you can just get out of your problem as an administration is to direct your anger towards certain people.
Right.
In this case, it's immigrants. Other cases, it was Japanese or Jews or Muslims. Or Christians, or atheists, whatever, or gays. You will have people being the target of that rage in order to divert your attention to the real problem. And the thing is, I mean, it is funny because yesterday I was watching a short documentary about how in the World Cup, France provided more than 60 players.
Right.
Not just in its squad, but all around, like squads for whether in Latin America or Africa or other European countries. And they say like the reason for that is that in the 50s and 60s there was problem with production, unemployment, economy. There was economic crisis, and there was a sports crisis. And when they opened their doors to the immigrants, integrating them into society, it helped their economy. It helped their football squad. Sorry, soccer. Sorry, terrible. And it helped them moving forward in general.
Right. But there's still a lot of anxiety around immigration in France.
But of course there is. But the thing is, it is manufactured.
Right.
I mean, there's anxiety about homeless people who are Americans.
Yeah.
Or homeless people who are French. There's anxiety about people as long as they're humanity, there's going to be anxiety. But the thing is, if you're going to say what are the pros and cons of immigration, the pros supersedes cons every single time.
Right.
Because it is never the people who come from an outside country, is how you deal with them. And if you give them the chance, it will build your country. This whole country was built on immigration. We say this and we take it lightly. But why is it different now? And there's like numerous studies about like how much tax money these immigrants have put in the economy, how much they help the economy, and how much are the people who are complaining about these immigrants living off their tax money. Actually, many of the red states that don't have any problem with immigration, the inner states, are the biggest consumers of tax money, of welfare, of government aid. So it's not. But here's the thing. All of these rhetoric, it's not built on fact. It's built on rhetoric and ideology. Right. Facts are taking like a backseat to the rhetoric and the anger and the ideology.
And sort of your podcast, in a way, is kind of trying to bridge some of the gap between some of those conversations. So thank you so much for joining us, Bassem.
Thank you.
You can listen to Remade in America every Tuesday on iTunes. Stay tuned for more AM to DM.